Hello everyone, I'm sitting outside, it's beautiful, and I'm starting to work on another project. Today's project will be working on a hat for American Girl doll, and I will use a cross stitch pattern, and I will also work on circular needles. Actually, I will work on double pointed needles, but you can use circular needles as well. Cast on 52 stitches, and then I will show you how to transfer to the double pointed needles and how to connect it into a circle. Here I have casted on 52 stitches, okay, and we will actually do first an edge of knit and purl stitches, several rows. Okay, so first let's do the knit and purl all the way to the end. Knit and purl, knit and purl. Okay, here is my first row of knit purl row. Okay, and now we need to distribute this onto my double pointed needles. So I usually put it down and then I move it over and distribute those stitches evenly among these double pointed needles. You can also work, as like I told you, on circular needles if you prefer. Okay, so I will see you when I'm finished with my moving these stitches to my double pointed needles. Make sure you do not twist the knit. You don't want this knit to twist like that. That's why it's better if you keep it on a table or on some surface. Okay, here I have distributed my stitches among 3 double pointed needles, 18 stitches here, 18 here, and 16 right there. And then I just pick it up like this and start knitting my next stitch, which is knit. And make it really tight. Okay, and then another one make also tight so you don't have big gap. And this is purl and knit and purl and knit and purl, and continue throughout the entire row. I'm almost finished with my second row, and you see how this is kind of stretching, so we just need to make sure again in our third row that we tighten this up really tight. Okay, and again, and then when we're finished with the hat, we will use this string and connect this to this end to this end. Okay, so it makes it much more nicer looking. And actually you can just continue knitting. So I am almost finished with my fifth row of knit purl, and these are my last 2 stitches in a fifth row. But what I need to do before I start my pattern, cross stitch pattern, I need to decrease by 1 stitch. So I will, instead of doing knit and purl in my last 2 stitches, I just will knit these 2 together and decrease by that 1 stitch. Okay, and now I'm ready to start working on a cross stitch. Now remember, this is our starting point, but with this cross stitch, our beginning of each row is going to be shifting in each row by 1 stitch. And you can actually put a marker here, like let's say white colored yarn, just to see how it's actually moving. Okay, so let's start working on this cross stitch pattern. We will start with the second stitch on the first needle, and we will knit it through the back loop, and then we will knit regular way the first stitch, and then we will go and take these 2 stitches and slip them off our needle. And now you will repeat it again. You will do back knit through the back loop of the second stitch, then through the first stitch just regular knit and slip it down, and again knit through the back loop, second stitch, knit regular way the first stitch and slip it down, and continue like this throughout the entire row. I'm at the end of my first cross stitch row. I'm not counting these. Now we're starting practically from new starting point. So this is considered my first row, and I have 3 more stitches left in here. So now I have to do my knit through back loop of the second stitch, and then the knit normal the first stitch, and now I'm left with this last stitch, which is our 51st stitch. So what you need to do, each time you have only 1 stitch left, you need to move it to the next needle, and this will be your new starting point. And so now we are in a second row, which is even number of the row, and we will be knitting this way, practically like reverse. First we will knit second stitch normally, okay, and then we will knit the first stitch through the back loop. So it's kind of like a reverse of the first row. Okay, and again knit stitch normally, second stitch, and then knit the first stitch through the back loop, and then slip both stitches off your needle, and again knit the second stitch normally, and then knit first stitch through the back loop and slip 2 stitches off the needle. And you can go and see that it's starting to be the cross stitch right there. And again normally, second stitch normal way, and then the first stitch through the back loop and slip both stitches off. Make sure that you slip both stitches off and don't slip the third one off. You can go and make a mistake that way. And I will speed up the video, but I also want to tell you that from now on you will actually be knitting in such way that you will have always one stitch left on each needle, because you know you're actually working with like 2 stitches at the same time, so that's like even number of stitches. But as you see, you will be ending up always with like 3 stitches on each needle, so you will have to be moving this stitch onto the next and continue that way. So let me go and show you here. You see I am actually also like stretching the the second stitch a little bit so I can pull my yarn through more easily. So we slip these 2 last stitches off the needle, and I have 1 stitch which I will move here, and before I had even number stitches here, but now I have odd number of stitches. So then I will have to move this stitch onto this needle when I'm finished with this row, and I just continue. You see I have finished my second needle and I have 1 stitch left on it, so I will move it to my 3rd needle, and I will continue with my second row, which is knit the second stitch the regular way and the first stitch through the back loop, and then take both stitches of the needle, and again second stitch, knit it in a normal way, first stitch through the back loop, and slip them off. Okay, and I'm finished with my 3rd needle, and in the second row, and again I have 1 stitch left over. So what I will do is I will move the stitch onto my first needle, and this is my 3rd row. So as you remember, I said that all odd rows are always started with the second stitch through the back loop, and then first stitch in a normal way, and again through the back loop and first stitch, knit through, you know, in a normal way, and then you take both stitches off, and again through the back loop and normal way, and push those off your needle, slip them off. So at this point I have knitted 15 rows, which you can go and count with me. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I am at the point that I have this 1 last stitch which I'm going to move here on the first needle, and as you see I was marking also my rows so I would know where my first needle is. Okay, and right at this moment we will just knit 2 together we will knit 2 together throughout the entire row. Knit 2 together, and this is, you know, basically how we will finish the hat. So I have decreased my stitches by half. Again I have my 1 odd stitch, So I will move it here, and I will continue knitting 2 together again. So I decreased by half again in my second row of when I started knitting together, and this is my third row, and I will knit 2 together again. Move that one stitch. And we have 7 stitches altogether. Okay, so I moved that one stitch again, and what we will do now is move these 3 stitches from first needle onto the hook. Then we will take the last knitted stitch, and let's go and move this one over here because it would fall out anyway, and we will pull this last stitch that we knitted through all 3 stitches. Okay, then we will do the same thing with all these 3 stitches, and then pull them through, tighten up, make slip stitch, and cut off. And weave it in. And also we need to go and work on this 2 ends, which I usually pull this through like this and then make a slip stitch and weave it all in. Okay, all we need to do is take these out. So here we have the hat for American Girl doll, and what I also wanted to say is that I used this yarn that is self-striping. What I like about it is that it creates more dimension to these weaving kind of pattern. If you want to make it for example for newborn, you can add 10 extra stitches instead of 51 stitches. You could do it with 61 stitches. And enjoy. Thank you for visiting, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you can subscribe, and I might show you some more interesting projects. Thank you.